This is strange. This is strange. This is strange.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Newpel, and welcome to the Noop Sports Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Noop Sports College Football Conference Previews. I'm Tom with Noop Sports. That's KNUPSports.com, where we will help you make money on sports betting. You got a need, you got a question, contact us on the web, or we are also on Twitter. Noop Sports, KNUPSports.com. Today we're going to look at the SEC, what probably most people think is the best football conference in the nation. We're going to start with the SEC East, the Florida Gators. Last year they were 9-4. 5-7-1 against the spread. There's a lot to like about the Gators. A lot of hope, a lot of optimism. They have 9 starters back on offense. Felipe Franks was impressive near the end of the season. Antonio Callaway is an underrated receiver. However, Callaway is going to be suspended for the first game. The schedule looks nice for the Gators. They have LSU and Florida State both at home. It is a solid defense in some ways. Randy Shannon, the defensive coordinator, only has 3 starters back, a lot of inexperience, but the offense will also need to improve as they have only averaged 24 points or less in 3 of the 4 last seasons. 9-4 last year. I'm sorry, the Gators probably are going to end. I know they're number 3 in the nation. I'm going to go with 9 wins again. The Georgia Bulldogs, 8-5 last year, 6-7 against the spread. The defense pretty much has everybody back. They were the 16th best in total yardage allowed. Quarterback Jacob Eason threw for 16 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He's got Nick Chubb, Sony Michael in the backfield, which is NFL stock. The offensive line is going to help those big guys in their run. The wide receiver group is rather unimpressive. They struggled as a kicker. They have some tough trips this year as they travel to Notre Dame, Auburn, and Georgia Tech. 8-5 last year. I have them under that with 8 or 7 wins. The Kentucky Wildcats are next. And they were, they were 7-6 straight up, 7-6 against the spread. They've got a little bit of a winner mentality as they made a chance. They were in the bowl game last year. They did beat Louisville at their place. They returned 16 starters. Freshman Benny Snell, All-American, ran for over 1,000 yards last year. And he should be able to help out Steven Johnson a little bit under center. They have wide receiver weapons there also. The defense is strong in the back, but up front they need to improve, as they were 110th in rush defense last year. Florida, Tennessee, Louisville all come to Lexington. Wildcats are going to need to improve their home field defense a little bit better. The Missouri, I got Kentucky winning 7 games. And that's a pretty good season for the Wildcats. Missouri Tigers, 4-8, 5-7 against the spread. They show a little bit of improvement. Jamon Moore came on strong near the end of the season with almost 30 catches. They have 4 straight home games to open up, which will build their confidence. Missouri State, UConn, Purdue, and Idaho. Should be a good start for the Tigers. The defense was pretty bad last year, allowing nearly 500 yards a game. Only 3 starters are back. There'll be some growing pains in the secondary. Kicker needs to be improved. That was Tucker McCann. He needs to get a better year. They finish out the year with Florida, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas, and that's a tough call up there. Missouri wins 5 games. South Carolina Gamecocks, 6-7 straight up, 6-1 against the spread. One of the best quarterbacks in the SEC East is from South Carolina, and Jake Bentley. He only had 4 interceptions in 190 attempts last year. The offense line is pretty much intact, so there's no excuse for a slow start. But they couldn't get to the quarterback last year, find it difficult to do so again. Elliott Fry, the all-time leading scorer, is gone, so they'll need someone to replace him. In the non-conference, North Carolina State, Clemson, Louisville State, 6 wins for the Gamecocks. Vanderbilt Commodores, 6-7 straight up, 7-6 against the spread. Ralph Webb is a decent running back, doesn't usually get enough credit for 13 touchdowns last year. Quarterback Kyle Shermer has Trent Sherfield, C.J. Duncan, Caleb Scott at the wide ends. The offensive line should be solid. But the defense is going to be a little weak. They just don't have any replacements as they made. Alabama and Georgia both come to Nashville, but they don't have a strong home field advantage. In the SEC West, we're going to talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide, best team in the country, ranked number 1, 14-1 last year, lost in the championship game 10-5 against the spread. They're going to be a bit angry this year, coming off that loss. Excuse me. In the national championship game, they do have Jalen Hurts, their quarterback, who's shown some improvement. Damian Harris, Bo Scarborough are both ground game guys. Calvin Ridley, 72 receptions last year, and he's back. There's not a lot to not like about the Crimson Tide. Defense only returns 6 starters, but they have talent at every level. Florida State will provide a very challenging season opener for them, and another tough road at Auburn to close things out. 14-1 last year, season win totals 13-2. The Arkansas Razorbacks, 7-6 last year, 5-8 against the spread. They put up some good numbers. Jared Cornelius is both a good wide receiver and a punt returner that will help them. But they've lost some defense. Raleigh Williams is gone. He's a big hole to fill, as he had 1,300 yards on the ground. The defense gives up over 30 points or more. They have road trips to LSU and Alabama this year. Arkansas was 7-6 last year. They're going to go under that and probably go 6-7. Auburn Tigers 8-5 straight up, 9-4 against the spread. There's a signal caller. Their quarterback comes from Baylor. They've added Jarrett Stidham. I think he's going to have a good year for them. He has to adjust to a new style. Daniel Carlson's one of the best kickers in the country. He's going to close out some games. But their coach is probably on the hot seat a little bit, looking for some talent. They lost a lot of talent. The punting could be an issue. They play LSU, Arkansas, Texas A&M in a row in mid-October to November. 8-5 last year. Not going to be quite as good for Auburn this year with 8 wins. The LSU Tigers, 8-4, 6-6 straight up. Derek Geist may make people forget all about Leonard Fournette, although I don't know that they will. Geist ran for almost 1,400 yards, had 15 touchdowns. The offensive line, 3 starters back, should be able to find some holes. The defense is ahead of schedule, should be ready early in the year. They don't scare anyone in their receivers, and the best ones were gone. They need to replace 8 starters on defense. So they're going to worry about conference games. They don't really have anything but a freshman kicker. 8-4 last year for the Tigers. I'm going to go 8-4 again this year. Mississippi Rebels. The Rebels are 5-7 straight up, 4-8 against the spread. There's a lot of headlines coming out of Mississippi Rebels area. People have hope. Many think that A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Van Jefferson may be the best trio at wide receiver. Defensively, Marquise Haynes has 24.5 career sacks and he's going to be going to the NFL soon. But there's also a little bit of defensive questions going on with the Rebels. They lost several players, need to be returned. The running backs aren't there yet. Make road trips to California, Alabama, and Auburn. Not going to help the team much. 6 wins for them. Mississippi State Bulldogs, 6-7, 5-8 against the spread. Quarterback Nick Fitzgerald is a passing and running, so he's a double threat quarterback. 21 passing touchdowns, 16 rushing. The thing is, they have their fourth defensive coordinator in 4 years. Things don't look good for them. They play the SEC West, and it's going to be tough. The Texas A&M Aggies. The Aggies were 8-5 last year, 4-9 straight up. They have some question marks at quarterback. It would probably be between Keith Ford, Christian Kirk, Travion Williams. The offensive line returns 3 starters. Armani Watts is one of the best safeties in the conference. They're going to have some tough games. Kevin Sumlin is probably on the hot seat here, and it's going to be a tough year as Ole Miss, LSU, Florida, Utah are all games that they will play on the road. The defense is going to have to play a lot better. 8-5 last year. I'm looking for Texas Aggies to probably end up with only 7. And that's your SEC Conference preview. I'm Tom at Noob Sports, knupsports.com. Give us a question on Facebook, on web, Twitter. We're there. And that's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Noob Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at noobsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.